listening to Unravel with Natalie Denise.
Muchachos y muchachas. Okay, I start the podcast right now, and Bo here decides, hey, Mom, I need to go to the restroom. Papa, you're going to have to lay down for just a second, my love, and then we're going to go and take you to do your business. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You should have told me earlier, Mugs. I hope you guys are doing well. It feels like we just got back from a weekend. Today, I kind of had a really late start. I've been very, very tired lately. Been going to sleep really late. I got to get some sleep tonight. I always say I need to get sleep, and then I go to sleep at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Not good. So what's up, chat? Hey, Jerry. What's up, Keem? What's up, Mark? What's up, Ivaha? I see a video. Decided to come over here and catch the rest of the other one. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. I welcome you guys to Nightly with Natalie. We've got quite a few stories to cover, including one prior story. Papa, lay down. Lay down. I've got one prior story from like a year ago. No, it was like 2 years ago that I actually had my channel deleted, the TDT channel, the Daily Traffic on YouTube. And so I didn't get a chance to save this, but finally I found this article and I found it really interesting. Even today, it's kind of like a evergreen topic. It shows the intricacies of how really what seemed to be honest storefronts like a CPA firm, accounting firm, how they can actually be fronting for these spas, for these illicit businesses. And so this has to do in connection to Robert Kraft. If you guys remember that back in the day, Robert Kraft is the Patriots owner. I think that's the team he owns. He's a football team owner, and he got caught in a spa massage sting. And eventually, you guys know the story. He didn't really even get a slap on the wrist. I'm sure he was able to buy himself out of that situation. By the way, my arms have been looking toned lately. I've been upping my weights. Anyway, sorry. Stop tooting your horn. Let's get back to the message here. All right. Sex trafficking is behind the lucrative illicit massage business. Why police can't stop it. So again, you guys are going to see the intricacies of how this is all connected. I'm probably going to skip down the intro to this article because I want to get straight down to how they connected all these CPA firms, just to give you guys an idea of how this stuff is connected to legitimate storefronts, right? So they can, and listen, I've always been curious about mattress places. You guys ever see mattress places open like super late night? Or there's like a mattress place like at every corner. Isn't that weird to you guys? I don't have any proof or anything that has inference that they're acting as an illicit business, but maybe that's something I should actually look into later and do a video about it because I've always wondered about that. But anyway, let's take a look at this. Within hours of a police raid of Miami Beach massage parlors in 2017. Oh, this is quite a few years ago. Chief Daniel Oates stood before TV cameras praising his agency's 8-month effort to crack down on prostitution and human trafficking. Officers had detained 10 Asian women and through interpreters tried to determine which one of them were victims and perpetrators. The city said that he had shut down 4 brothels posing as spas. He says, obviously, the message to these kinds of operations is that they don't want to be tolerated in our town, even before the news broke. Even before the news conference started. However, the case had begun to fall apart. Some sex workers, potential witnesses against the organizers, were gone. One of the spas would avoid being shut down altogether. The one person charged with trafficking in the case later was allowed to plead guilty to profiting from prostitution, a lesser charge. So the police across the nation have touted sex spa stings for years as evidence that they are cracking down on a rampant human trafficking act. The publicity surrounding these operations hit a high in February in raids of South Florida that led to charges against New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft, who police said that he was caught on video paying for sex acts. But USA Today review a 3 high-profile raids, the one in Miami Beach and the others in nearby Hollywood and Southwest Florida, found that a law enforcement's tough on cracking trafficking rhetoric fizzled after initial headlines. Charges were dropped or pleaded down. Spas often popped up in the same or new locations, and any notion of going after higher ups who profit from trafficking, including international crime figures bringing women from overseas, never materialized. So, like I said, some of these people are able to buy themselves out. It's additionally very challenging because the justice system, as you guys know, and as I tout every single night, are being more lenient on the perpetrators than they are or that they should be. They're lowering their bails. I mean, there's a plethora of things that I could repeat here, but you guys get the picture. The justice system allows for these perpetrators to get off really, really easy and even get out of jail super, super easy. All right. So hints of a broader organization not touched by law enforcement stings hover beneath the surface. Though a search of thousands of Florida public records ranging from corporate filings to massage licenses today, USA Today, and this is a USA Today article, this is a more biased leaning media outlet, but they actually did a good job with this. They did such a good job with this article that I remembered it from a few years till today. And I was like, I was telling my friend who does research with me for Counter Trafficking Alliance, I was like, dude, I've got to find this article. It's such a good article. I read it on the Daily Traffic channel before it got deleted. So I don't even know, I can't even have a reference point, but I found it. But this is such a good example of how these underground firms front for trafficking parlors and businesses. So let's skip down here today. So they're talking about the perpetrators. They released their identity, their mugshots. They charged Robert Kraft, the misdemeanor solicitation, which he is fighting. The 2 women accused of providing sexual services to him each face a felony related to prostitution. Human trafficking experts compared law enforcement's spa approach to arresting corner drug dealers instead of going after cartels, which is true. There is a lot of criticism that I personally hold for those people who law enforcement, the justice system, that persecute the victims more, like they persecute them harder than they do the actual perpetrators, which are the madams, the traffickers, the pimps, and that's a problem in our society. And the thing about spas too is that with spas, it's like a Hydra monster. You cut off one head, 3 pop up. Always happens. So let me try to find the part here that is really important because I don't want to be too lengthy spending time on this article. I want to kind of get to the point. They go through a few convictions. We talk about that a lot. There we go. A web of spa connections. A web of spa connections suggests a network built to survive police raids. Listen to this part. Untangling the roots of these sex trade networks undoubtedly taxes the resources of law enforcement. And they do. Check your local law enforcement police budgets. I'm telling you, the budgets are fractional to what this industry makes. So, of course, these people do not want to let go of their illicit industry because they make millions upon millions, hundreds of millions of dollars annually. But public documents offer plenty of intriguing leads. USA Today found evidence that spas are interconnected at Florida's Division of Corporations and its Board of Massage Therapy in records related in the businesses behind the three high-profile raids. So it gives you an infographic here for you all that are listening to me on audio podcasts. I'll try to describe this as best as I can, what we're looking at here. But it says here, of the 41 rated, 15 were connected through their corporate records to 2 CPAs. So they show 41 dots and they show 15 blue dots just to illustrate the magnitude. So out of 41, 15 of them seem to be protected at some extent to a legitimate storefront, which is a CPA, an accounting firm. Here's another one. 60 other spas have links to CPAs through records, individuals, and addresses. 46 of those other spas were reviewed in the last 2 years on Rub Maps. If you guys don't know what Rub Maps is, it's kind of like a Craigslist or a back page for spas. And not the massage, not for the intention of spa. You guys can use your imagination. The Rub Maps, the word, the name of the app intends that you are a solicitor of this act and we're going to find the nearest location for you. It's disgusting. How did this even exist? It's a little, I wonder if it still exists, to be honest with you. But with that being said, this is perpetually fueling the industry, the illicit industry. Let me just look this up. And if I find it, I'm going to show you guys. They might have taken it down. Actually, it might be renamed. It might be renamed. Okay. Okay. So it's not there anymore. They took it down. All right. 46 of the spas reviewed in the last 2 years on Rub Mats on Yelp for massage parlors that offer sex. Massage parlors seem to be in perpetual motion as if stuck in a spin cycle. Companies are incorporated and dissolved. Names and addresses are added and removed, swapped from one company to another, or discarded when the pressure is on. Most of the 41 spas rated were run through limited liability corporations, which provide a layer of anonymity to business owners compared with regular corporations. LLCs are easy to set up, and Florida, like most states, allows them to include foreign nationals. In documents, parlors may appear to be owned by someone working on site, sometimes listed as LLCs, registered agents, officer, or ambassador. Human trafficking experts said those individuals can start out as victims before being promoted to house managers, or might be repeat customers tapped as straw owners. The rated spas have revolving doors of registered agents, officers, and ambassadors. So if you guys understand what's going on here, is that, you know, when these spas or these illicit massage parlors, these illicit businesses that do host that dark industry of trafficking, they can shield themselves by creating an LLC. And how they do this sometimes is through these firms and agencies that cover for them. So these firms and agencies know the strings of the laws and how to remain anonymous and how to shut down an identity and dissolve yourself. And so I think that's where this is heading into. In documents, parlors may appear to be owned by someone working on site, sometimes listed as the LLC registered agent, officer, or ambassador. Human trafficking experts said those individuals can start out as victims before being promoted to house managers, or might be repeat customers tapped as straw owners. The rated spas have revolving doors of registered agents. Angelina Lee of Ja Accounting filed paperwork to remove a woman from her post as one of the company's registered agent less than 2 weeks after the woman was arrested by Hollywood police, that's Hollywood, Florida, at Jade Spa. Lee subbed in another woman who had been the registered agent for the company running in different Jade Spa in Miami Beach. A year later, police raided a second Jade Spa. Chad Brink has worked on a dozen trafficking cases over his 25-year career as supervising special agent for Arizona's Financial Crimes Task Force. He said the turnover USA Today observed resembles a model he's seen in which the spas are essentially franchises of a larger corporation. The owners basically lease out or sublet massage parlors, trying to rotate the girls through so they don't get caught as often, Brink said. Lady A is able to be the owner for 6 months, then an inspection or something happens, and right after the inspection, she sells the business. Really, she's just releasing the franchise back to the original owner. So you see how that works? They kind of have this this entity, this business entity, and then they're kind of strung into that entity as being like a sub entity. So when they get into trouble, they can just sell that business back, that illicit business back, to the higher entity, and then that higher entity can just like kind of sublease it back to another business if it's another, if they create another entity. Oh, that makes sense. Brink said that LLCs and certified public accountants filing their paperwork play an integral middleman role, intentionally obscuring the true owners. Lee said that she works with the only handful of spa clients and does not know of any illegal activity or efforts to hide owners. I'm not running the business and I'm not even in the business, so how can I, she said. We have a bookkeeping or whatever the client is. Regardless of the intent, the churn complicates matters of law enforcement. Continued on. On the night of the Miami Beach raid, police cordoned off Lulu Massage with yellow tape. Its open sign still lit, but the door shut. 4 days earlier, Olive Spa Inc., a company registered to another spa in Miami, had changed its address to Lulu's location. 2 days after the raid, Lulu's original LLC was dissolved. See how that works? The switch was suspicious, said Daniel Morgallo, a Miami Beach police captain. It prevented the city from keeping the spa closed because the business officially belonged to someone new who was not in charge when the undercover evidence was gathered. It is frustrating for the investigators because sometimes it's like sweeping water, Morgallo said. No matter how hard you sweep, it still comes back. Young May Kai and associates handled the transfer of Olive Spa to the address of Lulu's, which had been a Jaw client for years. So now we have a name here, Young Mai Kai and associates. Remember this because this is going to be mentioned throughout this article. The two accounting firms are within an hour's drive of each other along Florida's East Coast. Did I miss another agency? All right. Okay. The names of the firms and the representatives, Lee and Joseph Leung at Jal Accounting and, here it is. Lee and Joseph at Jal Accounting. So it's Jal Accounting and Young May Kai, which are going to be in question, appear on records for nearly a dozen of the spas targeted in the 3 raids USA Today reviewed. Registered agents and officers who appeared alongside the CPAs indirectly connect a handful more. In total, reporters found more than 60 spas in Florida related to 100 LLCs that used to be the same accounting firms or registered agents, according to corporate filings. At least 3/4 of those spas have been reviewed on RubMap since 2017. USA Today found no mention of either CPA firm or in public police and court documents related to the raids. So look at this. Look at this map here. All right. And this is going to be an interactive experience. So pay attention here. So I think USA Today, they need to do more stuff like this. To be honest with you, I really commend USA Today for doing this. Look at this really, really neat map that they built out. I'm astounded that USA Today even wrote this, the way that they created this interactive experience for us to understand. Look at this. So as we scroll down, this pops up. Okay. It says, the names of 2 accounting firms and the representatives appear on records for more than 100 spa-related LLCs in Florida. Come on. Come on. Those records connect the CPAs to more than a third of the 41 rated spas, as well as 30 spas that have been reviewed on Rub Maps since 2017. So this is just a repetition of what I just read out to you guys, but this is illustrating it for you guys. So let's just scroll up with the first one here. It says the name of 2 accounting firms and the representatives appear on records for more than 100 spa-related LLCs in Florida. And you guys can see on this map that you see right in front of you. And for those of you on audio podcast, I will describe this to you. Jal Accounting is a little bit south of Fort Lauderdale in Florida, and Young Mai, the other accounting firm, is right above Delray Beach. So they're just miles away from each other. They're literally on the coastline. And then as we scroll down, it gives us more information. Look at all these lines that appear. Once we scroll down, look at all these lines that appear. It's connecting these 2 accounting firms to all of these rated spas. Those records connect the CPAs to more than a third of the 41 rated spas, as well as 30 spas that have been reviewed on Rub Maps since 2017. Registered agents and officers who appeared alongside the CPAs and directly connect a handful more of the rated spas and another 16 that have been reviewed on Rub Maps since 2017. So Rub Maps is also a key integer here, because Rub Maps is the app where the Johns were able to go to, and just, it was like a Yelp. Let's just say it's a Yelp for massage parlors that give illicit business, out there. Okay, so as we take a look at this spa, let's try to zoom out here. Let's zoom out here. You guys see the tip of Florida here, and you see here, let me move this out the way a little bit, but you see here how these 2 accounting firms on the very, very east coast of Florida are connected to all of these other spas. There are some that are indirect, like they can't really prove, but there's some contacts that they are connected to this firm. But then there are also direct links to these firms. You guys see that? Isn't this fascinating how CPA firms can actually be accounting for and covering for these illicit massage parlors? Kai, 48, and Lung of 65 are licensed accountants. Lee, 37, is not. Chinese language websites include referrals to Lung's firm. Kai says that on her Facebook profile that she is from Wuhan, China, and advertises on her website as she speaks Chinese. Spas are front and center in both firms' public portfolios, along with the Asian import, investment, and real estate businesses. Contacted by phone, Kai, like Lee, denied any knowledge of illegal activity, although she said she was aware of the police raids. She said, "We do our due diligence as a CPA, but we do not know of any human trafficking," Kai said. "Because I am a CPA, I only talk numbers and financial statement." Lung can only be reached for comment. In its executive summary for Operation Spa, state law enforcement officials said using limited liability companies disguised the nature of the business and concealed its proceeds. It alone among the 3 raids mentioned in the use of LLCs. The case listed 4 companies that officers were run by Robert Jones, his wife Xan Lang, and her brother Jun Lang, all of whom were arrested. Jones and Jun Lang faced prison time. Zhan Lang faces 21 months of community control. One of the Jones spas has turned up. So these were the owners, or the people who ran the spas that were prosecuted. One of the Jones spas turned up in USA Today's search with a connection to Young Mai Kai. She was the registered agent on an LLC registered to the spa's address during the investigation that connects Operation Spa to Miami Beach raid 2 months later. Law enforcement never connected those dots. Morgallo said that his department and the agencies behind Operation SPA didn't share information about their respective investigations. The accounting firm connections unearthed by USA Today, she said, would be something that I would want to look into as an investigator. And just to give you guys a little bit more detail about these spas, behind the pastel facades of a dozen spas in Southwest Florida, agents found signs that women workers were brought there to live on site. The state's investigative summary details trips back and forth from parlors to airports, plane tickets from New York, suitcases and shipments of women's clothing, and Costco grocery receipts. An undercover agent reported that June Lang, who said she ran the massage parlors but didn't own them, detailed how the women got there. A family member brought them from New York. Nearly 2 years later, Operation SPA LLC is nearly concluded with the sentences for prostitution, racketeering, and money laundering, but no one faces a human trafficking charge. Get that. In April, USA Today reporters visited the 13 rated locations of 5 remained massage parlors. An open sign hung in the window of the Asian massage of Naples and Davis Boulevard in April. Yu Zhao Zhan said that she owned the place in another location, Jade Spa in Cape Coral. Zhan said that the ownership of 2 parlors changed about a year ago in its new place. The corporation listed on both their business massage licenses formed a month after the raid. That LLC's primary operating address is the location of the 3rd spa in Naples. All 3 spas have been reviewed on Rub Maps in the past 6 months. One customer of Asian Massage of Naples in January used an abbreviation of a slang term for masturbation. This is a quote. This is a quote from Rub Maps. This John says, or rated this on Rub Maps and said, she asked if I would like anything extra. I asked about prices, went back and forth one time and settled for an HJ. In 2017, agents made one of their arrests at Jade Spa, where they said a woman worker had negotiated to masturbate an undercover officer for $60. Today, a red neon sign illuminates its name in the one storefront of a beige strip mall on a major thoroughfare and behind a preschool. That's right, a preschool. A USA Today network reporter was greeted there in April by an employee wearing a red bikini, thigh-length robe, and she spoke a little English but said through Google Translate that no sex services were provided. I mean, is that not fascinating? This one of the spas, I mean, imagine, did you guys know this? Be sure to comment, be sure to like this video. Let me know if you knew this about CPAs and underground firms covering for these people. This is insanity. I'm not even kidding. This is what's going on currently. This is why it's like Hydra. You can't just shut down one business and expect it to stay down. You have people with backbone businesses like the CPAs that are keeping these people afloat. This is how they get away with it. We always think that, right? Why can't they just shut these places down? Well, sometimes there's complications within these investigations. Sometimes they're dissolved overnight. Sometimes their addresses are moved. I mean, plethora of reasons why. Isn't that crazy? I had to share that article with you guys. I mean, this was back from when? When did they write this? I think this was back in 2019. So about 3 years ago. 2021, 22. Yeah, about 3 years ago. But isn't that fascinating? This was just such a great topic to cover. And just the information contained in this article is extraordinary. I just love the way that I mean, I'm telling you, I wish USA Today would do more things like this, where they would map out things like this. This was such a great interactive experience where you can see the 2 accountants, how they're connected across Florida, and how they're supporting more spas, especially those that are rated. So it's definitely shows a story. The data shows a story. All right, let's get to the next news here. A Warren dad who repeatedly sold a homeless girl for sex gets minimum sentence. This is coming from Detroit Free Press, and this is in the area of Michigan. Marvin Booker had it coming, the feds say. The father of two sold a homeless teenage girl for sex, even though when she begged him to stop the sex dates because it was so painful due to infection, they say. I know this is not easy stuff to read out, but this is going on in our world. Then Booker wound up in jail on sex trafficking charges and begged a judge to release him because of COVID-19 fears, claiming he had asthma. It's ironic that the defendant, Marvin Booker, comes into this court looking for mercy when he showed no mercy to the child victim he exploited and trafficked, prosecutors wrote in a court filing. The judge, whoops, this thing just popped up and lost my place. Where is it? The judge kept Booker behind bars. He won't be getting out for a long time. In U.S. District Court on Monday, Booker, 30, was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison for coercion and enticement of a minor, marking the fourth human trafficking prosecution in U.S. Attorney's Office in Detroit in the last month. According to FBI, Booker preyed on the girl by promising her shelter, money, and affection while pretending to love her. Booker spent months persuading the girl to fall in love with him, convincing her that that he was looking out for her best interest. Prosecutors argued in court records. Booker used every tried and true tactic, including love bombing, which is part of the grooming process for those of you that don't know, to manipulate the girl into making money for him, and it worked. Love bombing is a very severe and toxic part of the grooming process because it definitely works. Love bombing works in narcissistic relationships that enter into abuse. Love bombing works in enticement into the illicit things like this, where girls who are impressionable, they come from broken backgrounds, they need the love. I mean, as humans, we innately want love. That's just how God built us. God built us to want love. And so when they come from broken backgrounds and they don't know what love is, and suddenly someone shows them all of this overwhelming affection, they want that and they want to keep it. They want to keep that alive. And so that's how they get hooked. According to court records, Booker collected half of the teenager's payments from sex dates, threatened to leave her homeless if she didn't do as told, and refused to get her medical attention when she pleaded for it. Perhaps the most egregious, prosecutor said, is what Booker said to the girl after she was diagnosed in the hospital with a urinary tract infection that left her unable to have intercourse. He ordered her to perform oral and anal performances instead. Yes, this man is demonic. I mean, these people are getting more and more demonic in our world to not have basic compassion for another human being, let alone a child. You don't have a choice, Booker texted the girl. Okay, the girl texted back. Human traffickers like this defendant exploit and endanger some of the most vulnerable members of our society and cause their victims to indescribable harm, said U.S. Attorney Don Ison said in a statement that Booker manipulated, threatened, and trafficked the girl to line his pockets. We hope that the sentence offers the victim a sense of justice and closure and sends a message that we will not tolerate sex trafficking in our communities, Ison said. Booker, who has been in custody since his March 2020 arrest, has been sentenced by U.S. District Judge Gershwin Drain 3 months after he cut a deal. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Wait. I'm sorry. What? 3 months. He said, I'm sorry. He sent his. I'm astonished. Hold on. I have to read this through. Okay. I thought I read it a certain way, so I had to make sure. Okay, so thank you for allowing my pause. By U.S. District Judge Gershwin Drain 3 months after he cut a deal and pleaded guilty to coercion and enticement of a minor. I thought he sentenced him 3 months, but I'm glad I read it through before I said anything. The prosecution pushed for a 12-year sentence, though the judge gave him the minimum penalty set by Congress for that crime of 10 years. So still a very low sentence. Why would you give any abuser like this the minimum of anything? Why not the maximum, right? So he gave him 10 years, which is, I know it's shameful. It's better than nothing. It's definitely better than 3 months, but the prosecution pushed for 12 years. According to court records, Booker advertised the girl for sex online, drove her to the date, and rented hotel rooms and instructed her to send him sexually explicit images for online advertisements, all while having a family of his own. Booker was engaged with two children after he preyed on the girl. Court records show and convinced his fiancée to let him live with her on a tether rather than stay on jail pending the charges. The judge, however, refused to let him out on bonds, concluding that he was a danger to society and couldn't be trusted to remain free, even on a tether. So there's a lot more. Let's go continue. According to court records, here's how Booker landed in federal court. On February 2020, Booker was pulled over by police in Warren. A 16-year-old girl was in the car with him when Booker was arrested on charges of driving on a suspended license and other outstanding warrants. During the stop, the officers asked Booker and the girl questions about their relationship and why the girl was out so late with him. The girl and Booker gave the officers inconsistent explanations, which raised the officers' suspicions. Officers placed him under arrest. Police separated the girl from Booker and questioned her. She told the officers she told the officers she was 16 and provided them with 2 telephone numbers, which officers ran through websites and advertised and solicit for prostitution. They found a match. One of the telephone numbers the girl had provided had associated with several postings on the prostitution website, listcrawler.com. I have never heard of this one before. So that's another one. These people are sick, creating new websites like that. These are like backpage.coms. It's kind of like like I said, it's like a listing website, like a Craigslist, but just intended for, things like this. It gets graphic. The post showed the girl in her underwear advertising sex for money. While seated in the back of a patrol car, Booker told the officers the girl's name, saying, "I ain't going to lie to you about that. She's 16." Booker was then taken into the Warren Police Department and questioned. During the interview, Booker wrote a statement admitting that he posted the girl in online advertisements for 2 commercial sex acts a few times and previously driven her to 2 different houses for sex dates. Booker told police that he and the girl had an arrangement. They would split the profits from her sex dates 50-50, but it never played out. Booker also disclosed that he had sex with the girl twice, though understated his involvement in trafficking the girl, telling police he posted her online and drove her to dates to make gas money. His social media account and text messages told a different story. So now we get into a lot more of the proof. Officers continued their investigation, obtaining search warrants for the phones and social media profiles of Booker and the girl, who in 2 months span exchanged more than 1,000 text messages with each other. According to court records, Booker met the girl through an online app. He reached out to her and learned that she was struggling with money and housing and offered to help her make money by advertising her for commercial sex dates online. Okay, first, again, I just have to reiterate this, that the sex traffickers, the pimps, they are, and I don't know if this guy had known this in the past. I don't know how he instinctually knew how to traffic her, but this is why I always allude back to, it's a spiritual battle, because this is demonic intel, right? These people know how to do this somehow. It's not like they go to a narcissist university, like Narcissistic U, no, this is demonic intel. This is how they know to do these types of things, because it's always consistent. They always target the most vulnerable in our society. They always love bomb them to get them hooked in, and then they keep them reeled with it doesn't mention drugs in this story, but I'm just saying, out of an example, a lot of times traffickers will keep these sex trafficked victims hooked in by giving them drugs, very highly addictive ones, including opioids, heroin, things like that. And so they especially abuse drug users who are, very broken victims, to keep them reeled in, because they have to go back. The victims have to go back for the supply. And then not only that, the victims have something that the traffickers want, which is the money that they make from the dates. For those of you that don't know what a date is in the sex trafficking world, a date is basically a sex transaction. So when you hear that she went on a date, it's not like an actual date. It's a slang term in the sex trafficking world. So as time passed, Booker integrated himself into the girl's life and began to control her. And this happens incrementally. It's very, very small increments. It's like, I love you, and if you're going to do that, oh, I would really love if you do this. And it's very, very incremental. So that this is how they entrap them psychologically, and that's what's called a trauma bond. He chose when to post her for dates, dictated when she was allowed to talk, and threatened to kick her out when she didn't do what he wanted, knowing she had nowhere to go. Records from Booker's phone and Facebook profile also revealed that the 16-year-old girl was not Booker's only victim, and that exploiting women was not only his only source of income. He also illegally sold guns and checking account information of strangers, prosecutors allege. According to court records, Booker's Facebook page showed how he recruited young women for sex trafficking, assuring vulnerable females that he was trying to help them by offering to advertise them for sex online. Okay, so he was a sex trafficker. This was what happened with the 16-year-old girl. Booker had asked the girl to send him photos so he could advertise her online. The girl sent back photographs of herself in a bra and a pair of shorts. Though Booker told her that he wouldn't, that wouldn't work. I'm sorry, this was worded really weird. It was kind of jumbled there. Booker told her that wouldn't work. She had to be naked or in a bra and panties. The girl then sent Booker 7 photos of herself naked. And then it goes into his mental health. His mental health here. But yeah, this is quite. Marvin Booker also ran an illegal check business. So he was a natural scammer and schemer. This is horrible. This is just one story, by the way. This is just one story. And we go through these every single day, not right? Like we go through these stories every single day. Every single day there's a new story. There's so many stories out there that I can't even get through all of them. I can't even post all of them because there's so many out there, especially with child pornography, which is why I'm so heated about this recent swear-in of this enabler. So many stories, so little time, right? 4 arrested. This is coming from Fox 7 Austin. The next story. 4 arrested for human trafficking situation in Caldwell County. And this is in Texas. 4 people are arrested for kidnapping and human trafficking situation in Caldwell County on Sunday, March 27th. The sheriff's office, the situation happened on Green Acre Drive in Dale. Multiple assets were activated to assist, including Hays County, SWAT Hays County negotiations, FBI task force, and Texas Rangers. I just remembered something. I forgot to throw up my brand here. Here we go. A search warrant was obtained for the home that was executed by the Caldwell County Sheriff's Office with the assistance of the Hays County SWAT team. 4 victims were removed from the home and refused medical treatment on the scene. 4 people were arrested from the home and taken into custody at the Caldwell County Jail. Genaro Carranza, Romero, Neleli Cruz Valeriano, Emmanuel Miguel Rosas, and Rosendo Miguel Rosas were all charged with an operation of stash house and engaging in organized crime activity. They have a bond set at $30,000. That is incredibly low. Oh, we're going to go into the rants. Yes, we are going to go into this rant. Yes, we are. Oh, yes, we are. We're going to get into this rant. Yes, we are. Again, let's just go through this, right? Because I have complained about Austin. I've complained about Austin before. You guys remember this story Oh boy, we're going to talk about this. Oh boy. They all have a bond set at $30,000. So you're telling me that you can bail out for $3,000? These traffickers. This is what we, guys, this should be a big headline. This should be a big, huge headline. These traffickers have a bail set at $30,000. You can post your bail by just 10%, meaning that they can get out with $3,000 measly dollars. Okay. This has happened in Austin before, where there was a repetitive sex offender who actually molested a little boy. The first judge, I'm going to repeat this story as much as I need to. The first judge recommended a $1 million bond for this guy because he was a repetitive sex offender. First of all, why was he on the streets? That's my first question. And why does it take him to to offend in multiplicative events for them to catch him and to detain him, right? So this guy, this is not the guy part of the story, but it's a different case in Austin. So the first judge, I believe his name is McNellis or Nellis. He recommended $1 million. The second judge, I believe her name is Cynthia. I'm going to have to look this up. She went against the first recommendation of her colleague's recommendation, and she posted this man for $50,000, meaning that he could get out for $5,000, and he's a repetitive offender. He was supposed to register as a sex offender. He never did. And so this is why I go on these heated rants about this, because this is absolutely despicable that major cities, wake up, major cities, your own city is doing this, where they are doing these bail reforms. It seems to be every single night we come across a story like this. Sorry to yell at my microphone in such a way, but we come across these stories where these judges are letting out the traffickers at minimal bails. What the hell is going on? If you guys are listening to me in Texas, in Austin especially, you guys need to put pressure on your city council people. You really do. Okay? Like, for me, I'm just one person talking about this stuff, but this really is where the grassroots effort needs to come in. People need to hold their council people accountable. $30,000 for these people, and I don't know why they were. I'm just gonna put an opinion out there. Okay, I don't know this for sure. I'm just gonna preface that I don't know why the victims would refuse medical treatment. Maybe they were just fine. Maybe they were not supposed to be in the country and they didn't want to be found, right? There's a lot of reasons. But this is infuriating that these people get out on $3,000. Imagine that. I'm sorry, I just like this stuff makes me so mad. Makes me so mad that this happens. Oh, I need another sip of tea before I get to the next story. Okay, so the next one coming from Grand Rapids. A Grand Rapids woman gets prison for sex trafficking operation. This is coming from mlive.com, which stands for michiganlive.com. This is a short one. A 40-year-old Grand Rapids woman has been sentenced to more than 3 years in prison for her involvement in sex trafficking operation at locations in Wayland and Grand Rapids. Vanessa Ann Phillips was sentenced Monday in Allegan County Circuit Court in a minimum term of 3 years, 2 months in prison. Her maximum release date is 15 years. Crazy. It's crazy that there are stories like this every day, but also how short these stories can be, right? I mean, it's like, oh, no big deal. She was just sex trafficking people. Minimum 3 years, 2 months. Her maximum release date is 15 years. Oh, cheese and crackers. All right. Next story. Apparently, 50 people were seen fleeing from a semi-truck in McLean County in Oklahoma. This is coming from KFOR.com. Wayne, Oklahoma, authorities are investigating after dozens of people jumped out the back of a semi-truck during a traffic stop. On Monday night, the law enforcement attempted to pull over a semi-truck near I-35 and Highway 59 in McLean County. When the truck pulled over, officials with the Oklahoma Highway Patrol say that between 50 and 75 people jumped out of the truck. At this point, investigators believe that the people are undocumented immigrants. Of course. Of course. As a result, the investigation has been turned over to the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics since it may involve human trafficking. So 50 people just like that, just out into the United States. We don't know who these 50 people are. They are weary that some of these people that jumped out of the semi-truck, that they may have weapons. Aha. Yep, exactly. Right? So this is why we have regulations in this country. This is why we have to adhere to the law of the land, because people are just like, who knows if this is a terrorist, or like they're pretending to be Mexican and they're not. You know what I mean? Like, even if they were Mexican, like these people are just coming in. We don't know who they are. There's no checks, no nothing. And now they're out and about, just peppered into our society. All right. Final story. This one's really important. This is in regards to the refuge. We have been talking about this on this channel about the very, very disappointing situation going on in it's Bastrop, Texas, close to Austin. This was a very revered safe house for children rescued from human trafficking. I actually covered this on my main channel, youtube.com/NatalieDenise. What the story boils down to really is that they had really lax screening processes, and this should never, ever happen with a situation that you are in care of sex trafficked survivors, especially that they are children. Some of these people had past criminal records. In particular, some of them had records in which allege that they should not be in a group of or in a room full of children, or left alone with the child. Okay, why are you letting these people in your facility? How did this slip through the cracks? What kind of background checks are being made about these people? Like, these are things that I have questions about. So with that being said, the investigation is still ongoing. The foster care system as well needs to just be overhauled. And of course, it's already been fractured for a long time, including the CPS system. It's very, very, very sad. Even more so that, and I have to mention this because you have to keep this in mind, that when undocumented children are coming into the country, of course, like any person with a heart, you don't want to see these children, regardless of how they come in or, where they come from, whatever. You don't want to see these children hurt, no matter what. You don't want to see children hurt, no matter what. So the problem with this is that, our inefficient officials, elected officials, are making makeshift solutions of, just funnel them into the foster care system and place them somewhere, right? We saw examples of this where foster care parents actually made a report to the Daily Mail. I want to say it was like a year or two ago this was last year when this influx began. And the foster care system was reaching out to foster parents, basically asking them if they had like 8 to 36 beds available. Maybe it was 26 beds, but still. The foster care parents that whistle blew on the situation, they were like, this is really unsafe. What are you guys doing? So I just want to give you guys that in perspective, that the foster care system already was fractured, but even more so that we have more children to care for that are not our own, but yet still we want to see them in better, in good situations. We don't want to see them abused. So it's a complicated situation. But anyway, the refuge, Bastrop, Texas, there's more allegations that are being brought up front about this. Last week, the last week of March brought a new round of accusations and federal filings in a decade-long foster care civil rights case against Texas. On Monday, federal court monitors overseeing Texas foster care Deborah Fitzgerald Fowler with the Texas Appleseed and Kevin Ryan with Public Catalyst Group Corporation filed a report in federal court showing the results of the investigation into a sex trafficking rehab facility for girls. It lists problems they found with how the state conducted the investigations into the refuge for DMST, domestic minor sex trafficking is what it stands for, which rehabilitates sex trafficked girls aged 14 to 19. The monitors pulled the refuge records dating back to January 2021. Their report claims that the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services closed 3 cases without a proper investigation. Okay? And this is why it's so sad, man. It really is. It is so sad because this is how kids get funneled from the foster care system, not properly investigated with their situations. They get recycled back on the streets. The traffickers find them. They get recycled. They get used. They get recycled over and over and over again. The monitoring systems review revealed evidence that numerous children were denied a safe placement while at the refuge in contravention of the court's orders, the report shows. Monitors, I'm sorry, I didn't give you guys the sources coming from kvue.com. Monitors wrote that there is a strong possibility of human trafficking based on the staff's inducement of children to sell nude photographs in exchange for drugs. Texas Rangers in the refuge reported a former employee agreed to use nude photos of the 2 girls at the facility to buy and smuggle illegal drugs for those girls. Public scrutiny began after a letter filed March 10th with the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Texas shows DFPS received several calls alleging sex abuse and sex trafficking at the refuge. The letter said some refuge employees may be responsible for trafficking children at the facility. Greg Abbott called the Texas Rangers to investigate. The Senate Committee on Child Protective Services and the House Committee of Human Services each held hearings. This should have been done a long time ago. Okay, I'm trying not to be like a sore loser about this. I really am not, but this should have been done it shouldn't take incidents for this investigation to happen, right? This should have been long monitored and regulated, right? Why does it have to take a situation for this to be like, oh, well, let's look into it? Okay. There is no evidence that any of the residents at the refuge center have been sexually abused or trafficked at the center, the letter shows. McGraw told lawmakers that the investigators did suspect child exploitation and child pornography from a former employee, but needed some digital evidence returned before making an arrest. During the legislative meetings, DFPS gave a timeline of reports they received. It included a runaway incident where 2 girls escaped the help of the refuge employees. Those employees were fired immediately. So court monitors accused refuge of not having adequate safety standards. The managerial lapses the refuge was which permitted serious risks for child safety to recur over time were not isolated and require comprehensive monitored plan to address safety threats and compliance with the court's orders for safe placements, the monitors wrote. The refuge provides psychiatric care from the Dell Medical School. It has an on-site charter school through the University of Texas University Charter School. Therapy includes PTSD and trauma-based care, as well as holistic approaches like art and equine therapy. The KVUE defenders went inside the refuge to see what life is like for the teens housed there. The ranch is 50 acres. Each girl has their own room. Rules posted in one house showed limited television time and restricted movement around to the ranch grounds. No sharing or borrowing, no using staff's personal devices, no use of laptops by youth in the cottages, computer lab only, showed some of the rules. The girls were removed by the state on March 9th. The fear on the girls' faces when they got pulled out was just motivating me to make sure that this never happens again, says the founder. Since the human trafficking investigation began, the refuge hired 2 consulting firms to do in-depth background checks and psychological screening for staff. I just don't know why this wasn't implemented before, guys. I'm really, really disappointed. I heard so many revered reviews of this shelter. And look, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, when you see, I mean, it just should have been implemented before. It's such a waste that they wouldn't have implemented that measure, screening them in depth. I mean, these are sex traffic survivors. These are children. Look at this.
It's a special place.
A porch Brooke Crowder built to help sex trafficked girls transition to a productive, healthy life.
They each have their own horse.
She founded the Refuge for DMST, domestic minor sex trafficking.
One girl used to come and read to her horse.
Girls, as young as 14.
What they learn to do is take care of the horses. That in and of itself is a life skill that they learn.
The ranch includes a church, charter school, and on-site medical care. Trauma therapy includes traditional techniques and holistic care like art and equine therapy.
This is a really critical part to the therapeutic process for the girls.
But not now. What Brooke started and built over the last 8 years, one incident nearly tore it down in a few days. This federal court filing shows sex trafficking allegations against the refuge.
Okay, so we're not going to get repetitive with the details because I've already read a lot to you guys, but I wanted to show you that video because it's especially disappointing that they put so much work and effort. I'm not gonna just go say like, because I give my criticisms, truly, like this should have never happened. They should have implemented those measures, excuse me, from the very beginning. In-depth to consulting firms to do in-depth background checks and psychological screening for staff should have been the forefront of all this, right? And the reason why I showed you guys that clip is because look at how much effort has been actually put into this refuge, this shelter. And I hope that they do the right thing from now on. I don't know if these consulting firms are expensive. I'm pretty sure they are. But, I say that because I would like them to get back on their feet, but this just can never happen again, right? Because this looks like a haven for sex trafficked victims, especially children who come from that life and they're able to find peace, rehabilitation, on-site medical care, so they don't have to go anywhere. I mean, I do hope that there is more accountability this time if they do reopen. But this can never happen again in any situation. It's incredibly frightening. And it also shows it's hard. I mean, like the ministries have it really hard right now. They don't have a lot of funding. They don't have a lot of support. There aren't a lot of them to begin with, right? There are more animal shelter spaces in America than there are for sex trafficked survivors and children. So put that into perspective. So they're doing the best that they can. But if you're in the life of doing this and providing these services, you just can't let this happen. This is just, it just can't happen. But anyway, we went a little over our time. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. By the way, this is episode 99, everybody. 99. So we are moving on up. We are moving on up. Is it 90? Yeah, this is episode 99. Tomorrow is episode 100 milestone. So you guys have a great night. Thank you so much. Thank you, Keem, for being my moderator tonight. I appreciate you. I appreciate y'all for your support. And I will catch you guys in the next episode. Have a great one. And for those of you listening to me on podcast and radio, I love you guys too. You guys have a great day, especially those that listen to me in the morning. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Unravel with Natalie Denise. Please give this podcast 5 stars.